Ross isn't totally wrong, but I guess in the style of painting that I do, and obviously Bob Ross and I paint in totally different ways, there are lots of mistakes. And that's why it's hard. That's why a lot of people don't do it, is because it's hard and you can make mistakes and everybody knows it. But all right. Oh, we got 1 minute. I should probably clean my brushes. Got a little bit done on this sleeve. This is actually the 3rd time that I've painted this image. Because I just keep having collectors that want this image and they don't want to print. They want the original. And so I say, cool, I'll paint it again for you. No problem. And it's kind of fun to repaint the same painting a couple of times because, whoa, now my face is really close. Let's just dial that back. Dial that back. There we go. So it is fun to paint things twice because you never do the same painting twice. I had a person at I had an open house over the weekend. And the lady at my open house, I was telling her that I was doing this painting and I was going to be doing it multiple times. And she's like, oh, does it look exactly the same? I'm like, no, I think it's impossible. Well, it's not impossible. It'd just be extremely difficult to replicate a painting like 100% identical. But I like the idea of like being able to experiment and make each one a little bit different. But I think one of the reasons why I've painted The Beauty of Not Knowing now 3 times is because it's a concept that so many people can relate with. I actually spoke, I'll talk about this in just a second, but I spoke over the weekend, and what's one of the things that I talked about was that most of the time, I feel like I'm not really 100% sure I know what I'm doing. I feel like I'm blinded most of the time. Most of my life is spent like feeling my way, like trying to figure things out. Even like I'm working on this big painting right now, and I spent 6 months in research phase. And I was just telling a friend today, like I was 6 months in research phase. And even in that 6 months of research, I still didn't know what the painting was going to look like. Like I didn't have an image in my head. I had to go get the image. And the image required a photo shoot and models and costumes. And it was a big production. But then once the image came, it was like so beautiful. And then I told her, now all I have to do is paint it. Like that, honestly, it seems like the easy part because I have the image and now I just have to paint it. That's so great. Because in a way, like the blindfold came off, right? Because I can see the image now that I'm going to work on. So, okay, clean my brushes. Stay tuned for Jenedy YouTube live painting class in the coming weeks. We'll see if we can pull one off. Just see how it goes. Maybe I could have my kids come like be a moderator or something. All right. So welcome to the 4th and final creativity boot camp. We're excited that we're starting on time tonight. And I'm excited to kind of like wrap things up and bring things full circle. So just as a recap, some things that we've covered. The first class, we talked about what is creativity and how do I get more of it? And in the second class, we talked about how to recombine our inputs. Like we get all these creative inputs, how do we recombine them in new ways to get symbols and create ideas out of them? And then in the third class, we talked about the creativity crushers, which were fear, fatigue, stress, and distraction. And I gave you some examples of things that I do to overcome those. And ironically enough, in that class, we had an actual creativity crusher in the technology failing. So that was awesome because that was like a live demo. I was like, guys, sometimes things get in the way of your creativity. Cue the camera, cue the computer not working. Oh, great. What are we going to do? And when things like that happen, you pivot and you find another way. So bless you, souls that are still here. You know, I'm going to share a video with you tonight that talks about kind of like longevity. And that's like the hard thing with the creative process, right? Everybody gets excited when they start. Even everybody gets excited the first night I give a creativity boot camp, everybody's pumped, but not everybody hangs out for the 4th one. So you, my friends, you are those that have endured. You are the ones that are going to do something cool. So congratulations. All right. So tonight we are going to talk about, once you've been through the creativity crushers, you've pushed through those obstacles, you've recombined your inputs, how do you bring your ideas to life? Oh, one more thing. I was going to talk about homework. And maybe I'll say this for the end. Should we talk about that at the end? Because I had some questions on whether you guys did your homework, and I'll save that for the end. We'll do that as a question at the end. Okay, we'll just move on. Okay, so we're going to talk about bringing your ideas to life, okay? And in order to do that, you've got to take action, right? Like, how many times have you heard someone say, I have such a good idea, and then they never do anything about it? Honestly, tangent, this is one of the things that really attracted me to my husband. When we were dating in college, he had some really good ideas. He was a horticulture major, and he had some really good ideas to help landscapers with their jobs. And he actually took his idea to like the mechanical engineering students to come up with a prototype for his ideas. And I was like, you're my guy. You're a doer. You don't just think of stuff, you actually do something about it. Okay, so I want to share this really cute story with you guys that comes from my How to Get Ideas book by Jack Foster that I have, that I have talked about a lot in this class, okay? So he says, George Ade was a prolific writer in the early part of this century. I once read an interview of his mother by a man who was not an admirer of her son's work, and he was indelicate enough to ask her about George's alleged capricious style and wobbly structure and shallow characterizations. Finally, Mrs. Ade had enough. Oh, I know that many people can write better than George does, she said. But George does. George does. It's one of the finest things anybody ever said. Isn't that so good? So if you ever get flack from people about your art or about your writing or about your singing or about your cakes or about whatever you do, just tell yourself, you know what? Hey, at least I did it. At least I'm a doer. At least I don't just talk about cool stuff. I actually make cool stuff happen. So once you get your cool idea, please don't be afraid to take action. Now, when it comes to the phrase, just do it, I don't actually think of Nike. I actually think of Shia LaBeouf. Now, little side note to this video that I'm going to play for you. I think I've told you that I had the opportunity to go study with this amazing painter named William Whitaker in 2017, 2018. And even he had moments of like a creative slump, times like I'd walk into a studio and he'd be like, Jenedy, it's all gone. There it goes. And I was like, what's all gone, Bill? All my talent. Any talent I ever had. There it goes. And it just like literally surprised me that someone that established, someone that did painting for like 50 years could have moments just like I do where I feel like, man, my daemon, my genius did not show up today. Okay, so when he would do that, when he would say, I have no talent, it's gone, I can't paint anymore, I would be like, Bill, stop it, get your brush, get to work, do it. And I actually would play this video for him, and it kind of became like an inside joke for the two of us. Okay, I'm sure you've seen this before, but we'll play it anyways.
Do it! Just do it!
Do it.
Don't let your dreams be dreams. Yesterday, you said tomorrow, so just do it! Make your dreams
come true!
Just do it! Some people dream of success while you're gonna wake up and work hard at it. Nothing is impossible. You should get to the point where anyone else would quit, and you're not gonna stop there. No, what are you waiting for?
Just
do it! Just do it! Yes, you can! Just do it! If you're tired of starting over, stop giving up.
So if anybody out there, if you have not ever seen that video, please tell me so in the comments because I'm just curious. But if you guys are ever having a moment where you're feeling like you had this great idea and then you're like you're not like feeling it so much anymore, just watch that video and be like, just do it. Oh, Rayanne, I'm so happy that I could. Oh, and Melly, so happy I could afford that opportunity for you. Just do it. So good. Okay. So that's my first recommendation for you guys is to just do it. Okay. Now, once you get started, I want you to know that like getting started is fun. And I'm going to try and play this video for you of me starting a painting, okay? So this is a new experiment with the technology here. No video. Wait. Oh, here we go. Hey, there we go. So here I am laying in the first layer of a hands painting commission. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you probably saw me working on this. I've posted about it like a few times. But this is the funnest part of the painting for me in a way, is like just the starting of it, right? Because like you have a white canvas and every mark that you put down is important and it matters and it changes what you're looking at in a dramatic way. And it's so exciting and it's so fun, right? And I feel like no matter what creative pursuit that you're doing, when you start, it's exciting, it's fun. Even just think about like when you start a new exercise program. When you start, it's exciting, it's fun. It really doesn't matter what it is. Like insert here, whatever new thing you're starting. When you start, it's exciting, it's fun. And then eventually, it gets not fun because it gets hard. And when it gets hard, then the funness level kind of drops, right? So I have one more little clip. I know we have a lot of clips today. One more little clip that a friend shared with me on Instagram, and it's not going to have sound because I'm still figuring out how to work that here, but you don't have to have sound because it has words and I can read the words to you. So here we go. I will narrate the video for you. Let's see. Just 10% of people think about creating. Just 10% who think about creating, 10% actually do it. Of that 10% who actually create, 10% keep going. Just keep going. Okay, I wasn't like the best narrator, but we tried. So of the population, only 10% like think of something that they want to create. And then of that 10%, only 10% actually do it. And of that 10%, only 10% actually keep going. So like I said at the start, you guys started this thing, you started the Creativity Bootcamp, and it shows that you have grit because you hung in there through all of the technical difficulties that have brought you to this glorious finish. And you are going to be those 10% that keep going in your creative pursuits as well. Okay. Now, the next part that I want to discuss is consistency over time, and that it does take time. It takes large amounts of time. And I have a new book to show to you guys this week. This one is called, wait for it. It's going to focus. Maybe. Whoa, the camera's having a struggle. Okay, put my face by it. Creativity Inc. Okay, so this is the story of the creation of Pixar, written by Ed Catmull, that was one of the original founders of Pixar. Has anybody else? Oh yeah, Melly, you've listened to this one. Yeah, okay. This is a great book. But just as you know, as we get started here talking about when you put your ideas into action, that you have to do it, but then you also have to be patient because it takes time. I feel like Ed was like a really good example. On a personal level, Toy Story represented the fulfillment of a goal I had pursued for more than 2 decades and dreamed about since I was a boy. Growing up in the 1950s, I had yearned to be a Disney animator, but had no idea how to go about it. Instinctively, I realize now I embraced computer graphics, then a new field, as a means of pursuing that dream. If I couldn't animate by hand, there had to be another way. In graduate school, I quietly set a goal of making the first computer animated feature film, and I worked tirelessly for 20 years to accomplish it. Can you? I mean, I've only been painting for 17 years. And I think the longest that I've worked on a single painting is 1 year. And I thought that was like a really long time. And so when I read that, I just thought, like, oh my gosh, what a really good example of somebody who kept going, who had that kind of grit and resilience to keep going to working towards their goal. All right. So I say this all the time in fitness, in health, in my art, in journaling, that consistency is key. It literally is. Like, I tell people all the time that I wasn't born with a lot of natural abilities. Like, art was not a natural gift for me. And athletics has not been a natural gift for me, but I did have I had two, sorry, natural abilities. My two God-given talents were I was consistent and I was an early riser. And that by those two natural abilities, I have been able to develop a lot of skills. And so if you can just practice being consistent, this is from Elizabeth Gilbert from Big Magic. It's a simple and generous rule of life that whatever you practice, you will improve at. And I'm going to read you a little quote from her book. And when I do, I want you to think about this question. What would you like to be really good at in 20 years? Like really good at. And know that you can have whatever you want if you're willing to practice it every day. So Liz, in her book that I have quoted every single week, Big Magic, she says, I wrote every day throughout my 20s. For a while, I had a boyfriend who was a musician and he practiced every day. He played scales. I wrote small fictional scenes. It was the same idea, to keep your hand in the craft, to stay close to it. On bad days when I felt no inspiration at all, I would set the kitchen timer for 30 minutes and make myself sit there and scribble something, anything. I had read an interview with John Updike where he said that some of the best novels you've ever read were written in an hour a day. I figured I could always carve out at least 30 minutes somewhere to dedicate myself to my work, no matter what else was going on or how badly I believed the work was going. It's a simple and generous rule of life. Whatever you practice, you will improve at. For instance, if I had spent my 20s playing basketball every single day or making pastry dough every single day or studying auto mechanics every single day, I'd probably be pretty good at foul shots and croissants and transmissions by now. Isn't that so good? And isn't it kind of exciting or like liberating to think about that, like, you can choose what you want to be good at in 20 years from now? Because that's the thing that you're going to decide that you're going to do every day starting now. So one thing that I've recently started doing just like 10 minutes a day is practicing Spanish. Yo quiero hablar español. Like I want to learn Spanish so bad. Like I want to be able to speak Spanish so bad. And it's hard to have the time to really put into the study because of all the other pursuits that I have. But I'm kind of following this rule. And if it takes me 20 years to speak Spanish, I'll be thrilled that I even speak Spanish at the end of 20 years. So I'm testing this rule because I'm literally only giving it like 10 minutes a day. But 10 minutes a day times 30 days a month times 356 days a year, that adds up to like a sum of time that actually can matter. And so I really do feel when it comes to taking our ideas and putting them to life, like the principle that by small and simple things are great things brought to pass is totally applicable here. Okay, now we're going to talk about the next step. Give yourself a goal. Now, when I say this, I mean like we're going to talk about setting aside this time that I'm talking about, like a little block of time every day, but I'm also going to talk bigger picture here. So the next book, this book has not shown up yet in the Jenedy Paige Creativity Bootcamp, but it is a good one. I'm sure most of you have heard of this book if you haven't read it, Atomic Habits, okay? This is like This is reading time with Jenedy. I'm just going to share this little excerpt from Atomic Habits. In 2001, researchers in Great Britain began working with 248 people to build better exercise habits over the course of 2 weeks. The subjects were divided into 3 groups. The first group was the control group. They were simply asked to track how often they exercised. The second group was the motivation group. They were asked not only to track their workouts, but also to read some material on the benefits of exercise. The researchers also explained to the group how exercise could reduce the risk of coronary heart disease and improve heart health. Finally, there was the third group. These subjects received the same presentation as the second group, which ensured they had equal levels of motivation. However, they were also asked to formulate a plan for when and where they would exercise over the following week. Specifically, each member of the third group completed the following sentence: during the next week, I will partake in at least 20 minutes of vigorous exercise on this day at this time at this place. In the first and second groups, 35 to 38% of people exercised at least once per week. Interestingly, the motivational presentation given to the second group seemed to have no meaningful impact on their behavior. But 91% of the third group exercised at least once per week, more than double the normal rate. So I think that is like some pretty good science right there, that like when you set your goal, it has to be specific. And if you can make it daily at a certain time and a certain place, you'll be even more likely to do it. So whatever your creative pursuit is, I want you to think about like a certain time and place that you could do it every single day and watch what happens. Okay, now on top of this, I want you to give yourself a bigger goal. So it's got to be like a way where you're going to like share your idea, your project with somebody. So like if you bake cakes, it's going to be like you're going to set a tea party, and it's going to be on this day at this time, and you're going to invite 20 people to come to your house to try your food. Or if you're a singer, you're going to set a date where you're going to sing at a particular concert or event or a venue. If you're an artist, I want you to pick a show, or like you can make your own show, or you can sign up for a show. There's like little art shows, like this summer is coming up, and there's all these little state fairs and festivals. Those are fantastic places to show your art if you've never exhibited your art before, but something where you have to like, own up to it. Other people are going to be like you've signed up for something. For example, like I'm a runner, and runners sign up for races. Why did they do this? Because most runners need that race to motivate them to actually run. And so I want you to think about that in terms of whatever your creative pursuit is, and set that kind of a goal too. So there's 2 goals. It's kind of like a long-term goal and then like a daily goal. And I like, this is from How to Get Ideas. The most stimulating limitations I've ever found, the most stimulating limitation I've ever found is time. Deadlines spur you to get something accomplished. Give yourself one. And then as that little tip, I said, runners sign up for races. What is the race for your creative pursuit? Now I'm going to share with you 2 paintings that I did in a certain amount of time, faster than I usually would, because I had a certain deadline to keep, okay? So in the painting on the left, this is a portrait of my daughter Joy, and I started it this January 19th, because I found out that there was a Portrait Society competition deadline on February 19th, and I had exactly 1 month to paint it. Now, anybody that knows me knows that I don't paint fast, and a month to do, that's a 24-inch round painting, was like fast for me. And I kind of was excited for the challenge when I decided, like when I signed up for it, essentially, it was like, okay, I got a month, let's go, let's see what we can do. And I mean, honestly, the painting was not accepted into the show, but I didn't lose, right? Because I have this really cool painting to show for it, and I did it in just 1 month. And then the painting on the right, this one was because American Ninja Warrior, this was last year, they asked me Jenny, we want to do some B-roll of you like painting, and we want it to look like you're finishing the painting like on set. So could you like do a painting for us and then bring it with you to the show, and then you can like work on it live on the show? And I was like, sure. I had 2 weeks. So this painting on the right happened because I had a 2-week deadline. And honestly, it's not perfect. It needs some work. I actually have it sitting over here in my studio corner because I want to add another layer to it. Um, but it's so cool because of that deadline. I did a painting in 2 weeks. They didn't use it, but who cares? Like, I still got a painting at the end of it. Does that make sense? So like, even if, you don't get your art accepted into the show, or even if nobody comes to your tea party that you threw, at the end of the day, you would still have your creative work to show for it, which is still like a blessing. Okay. Now, the next suggestion I have for you, as far as bringing your ideas to life and staying motivated as you go, is to get yourself a friend. So this is so true when it comes to running. So many runners are more successful if they have like a running partner. And this girl in this picture, I actually met her at a race, oh my gosh, 7 years ago. And it's because I actually placed in the race and none of my family was there. It was just me. And I was going to go to the podium and get a medal. And she was standing there too, because she had also placed in her age group, and she looked at me and she was like, "Hey, congratulations! Like, who's going to take your picture?" And I said, "Well, no one. I mean, nobody. None of my family is here." And she's like, "Someone needs to take your picture on the pulpit. You placed in this race." She's like, "Let me take your picture." And that's how we became friends. And we have now done like, I don't even know, like probably 25 races together. And it's been so fun. Like, it's so fun going to the race just because I know that I'll have a friend there to do it with. And when it comes to your creative pursuits, it's nice to have a friend that you can report to, that you can say, "Hey, I'm working on this goal." And then whenever you talk to that friend, they'll ask you, like, "How's that goal going?" And it gives you some accountability, right? And that kind of outside accountability is so helpful when you're working on your goals. All right. Give yourself an inspiration stream. Oh, yes. Oh, I forgot to change the quote on that one. Just give yourself an inspiration stream. So I actually have to grab my visual aid for my inspiration stream. Just a second. Let me grab it. Okay, so this is just one, but I actually subscribe to magazines, like art magazines. I know that sounds so archaic, but I actually love them because to me, I consider them like an inspiration stream. I don't have to go out and look for it. It just comes to my mailbox once a month. I subscribe to International Artists. I also really love American Art Collector because they kind of show me like what's going on at the art world, like in the art world at large. Like, you can get lost on Instagram, on social media. I mean, there are a lot of artists that I follow on Instagram and social media, but they're like sprinkled through a whole bunch of other Instagram accounts, right? And so like what I love about a magazine is that it just shows me art and interesting articles and artists that I probably would have never found on social media. And there's all kinds of specialty magazines for all kinds of creative pursuits. I actually also subscribe to this one called In Her Studio. I was literally at the grocery store with my kids one day and I saw this magazine on the magazine rack and I was like, "In Her Studio? What?" Yes, you guys, there is a whole magazine just about female art studios. I was like, I need that magazine. So I actually subscribed to it. Also because I want to be in this magazine one day. And so I figured if I always had a copy out on my coffee table, it would remind me of that goal, that I would like to somehow like get into this magazine someday. So that's why I love magazines. They come to your mailbox. You don't have to search them out. They show you stuff you could have never found through like digging through social media, and then you can keep them out out and about, visually stimulating you every time you walk past it to remind you of your goals. Okay. I don't know what your inspiration stream is going to be, but go and find one, something that can be there kind of lingering around your house to kind of help remind you and give you something to reach for. Because I feel like these magazines have such like high quality art that it's always such an inspiration for me to keep pursuing my art and keep working towards that goal. All right. Now you got to trust the process, guys. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. Settle in, be patient, tell yourself that this is going to be a minute. So when I run long distance races, you always know who the new runners are, like who the never ran a half marathon before people are, because when they get out the gate, they are hauling butt. They are just like going so fast. And like the first 1 or 2 miles, they're just like killing it. And then, mile 5, they just start to chill out. And then, later you pass them. And when I start a race, I always start with the thought and the intention. Just settle in, be comfortable, get in a pace that's comfortable, because this is going to be a minute. This is going to be probably an hour and a half to get down this mountain, and just kind of embrace that it's going to be not fast. And honestly, when I started painting, when I start a big project, it helps me if I go into that mental space of like, this is going to be a process. This is not going to happen in a day. Take some deep breaths. You're going to get there. You're going to work through it. Okay. It is 7:31. I'm going to give your homework, and then we are going to answer questions, and I will have completed my first on-time creativity bootcamp. It only took me 4 times to get it right. Okay, so homework time. You're going to set a creativity goal with a specific time and place, and then you're going to stick to your goal. And honestly, I would love, maybe if I do like a live YouTube painting session, you guys could comment about how your goals are going. Maybe I could be somebody that you help report to, but I would love to hear what comes of this, because I can't see it. I can't see the other side. But I just know, like, I really do know that by small and simple means, like, great things are brought to pass. I look at my career, that over 17 years and like raising little kids through all of it, that all these little moments actually do add up to something really great. So don't beat yourself up if you only have 15 minutes. 15 minutes is a worthy goal. And thank you for being a part of this creativity bootcamp. I hope it has blessed you. I hope it has helped you have a little bit of a stream of inspiration as far as your creativity concerns. And now I'm going to answer some questions. Oh, I did want to hear about homework, remember? So if you did the homework, if you went to bed 30 minutes early, if you did something that scared you and wrote about it, and if you had a technology fast after dinner, how did it go? And does anybody have anything they want to sort of like share with the class? I will be honest with you and say I had a very crazy week, so crazy. And I wasn't perfect at all of them. I did not, I don't think did I watch a movie? I can't remember, but it was crazy. But I will say for sure, I did something that scared me, because over the weekend I flew to Arizona to speak at an event, and it was a pretty big event. And I remember just like sitting there before I got up to speak thinking, your 12-year-old self is like totally freaking out right now. Because I was such a shy kid. And by small and simple means, I have become a confident speaker. But it's just been through accepting all these scary moments, that have finally added up to something. So let's see what you guys got. I tried standing off a face for the first time, Becca. That's so good. I actually did something kind of like that too. I'm working on a painting of Jesus wept, and I had to get a panel, And the panel that I chose had some art from my mentor on it. And it was really scary for me to paint over it, but I felt like it was the right thing to do. So I kind of know how that feels like when you're sanding it and you're like, duh, I know I can do this, right? It's going to be okay. The thing that scared me has been keeping me up at night. I said yes to creating a yearbook for my boys' school, and I only have a couple days to complete it. Whoa, Melly. That's like the people that sign up to be like the PTA president. I'm always just like blessings on your head. All right, let me look it through here. Where do you get your costumes for your models? Melitza. Oh, you were in Arizona too, Melitza. Hey, we were all in Arizona. I have to do my last week's homework later. Okay. Where do I get my costumes, Melitza? I have acquired my costumes throughout the years. I have made some, like I did a biblical painting of shepherds like in 2015, 16. And I literally just went to Joann's and bought like the most, linen looking, woven looking fabrics I could, and literally sewed like rectangles because that's basically what their tunics were. So I've sewn them. There's a production company here in Utah that when they're done with costumes, sometimes they'll do a sale. And so I've done that. And then this time I actually borrowed them, rented them from a production company. So you can borrow them. I think like we have like here in Utah, we have like the Hale Theater. We have actually 2 Hale Theaters. There's costume rentals around. So you just kind of have to do a little bit of research, and then you can rent them and not have to make them or buy them, which can be really nice. What company, Becca? The LDS Motion Picture Studio in Pro. Okay, K Doles. Do you ever find that you come up with an idea that you love while rough sketching, but struggle to translate the idea into a finished piece? If so, how do you deal with this? Yes, that has actually happened to me before. I remember I wanted to do a reverse pietà. Because a pietà, right, is like Mary holding the body of Jesus Christ. And I wanted to do a painting of my son holding me because I have a son that passed away, and so many times I have felt him like supporting me as his mother. And so I did these like little sketches in my sketchbook of this image. And then I had my little brother come to be a model for, to represent my son's spirit. And it didn't work out because I found out that what I had sketched wasn't anatomically possible. So that was a problem. I think also we were kind of like in a silly space. We weren't really like in the right headspace to do it. So I might want to revisit that again in the future. But so how do I handle it? Well, that one I just was like, well, we better come up with a different idea. But I mean, my sketches aren't that great. Maybe we should start there. My sketches aren't that great. I think I showed you guys last week my little thumbnails that I had done. And they're just really obscure. Like I guess the more time that I get into painting, like the longer I'm a painter, the less time I spend doing really refined sketches, because I know like things like that will happen. Like what I sketch out, I'll find out is not actually anatomically possible. So it's better for me just to keep things really obscure until I can get models. And then once I have models, then I just recompose my idea with the actual models that I have. Does that make sense? Okay. I did 2 small things. I altered a prom dress. That's scary. And it may be a strange one, but I tried taking cold showers. That's scary. I've done cold plunges. That takes so much mental fortitude. Oh my gosh. The last one isn't really creative, but cold water terrifies me. Agreed. Christy, I find so much inspiration on social media, but don't want to just imitate others. Any tips for finding your own voice or style? Yeah, it's interesting because when I went to go study with my mentor, Bill Whitaker, he told me that, when you're imitating somebody at first, you'll like follow them really closely. Like the painting I did Waiting for Answers and Coming Full Circle I did in his studio. And I would say of all my paintings, those are probably like the most like William Whitaker-esque, because I was there working in his studio being influenced by him. But he said, but everybody eventually creates their own signature. And it doesn't matter, like, when you, even though you start out imitating somebody, the longer you do it, the more your own voice will just kind of arrive. It will just kind of come out. And a case in point, Norman Rockwell studied with another illustrator named J.C. Leyendecker. If you've never, I mean, I feel like everybody's heard of Norman Rockwell, but not a lot of people have heard of J.C. Leyendecker. And if you look at some of Rockwell's earliest work when he was like studying with Leyendecker, you're like, oh my gosh, that's a Leyendecker. And then you're like, oh my gosh, no, it's a Norman Rockwell. And Bill, actually, William Whitaker used this as an example to me. He's like, see, like when he was just started and he was learning from Leyendecker, he painted just like Leyendecker. But then over time, it was like inevitable. Like he developed his own voice and became the iconic Norman Rockwell that he is. So I think it's totally fine to start out imitating people. It just means, like, if you're only imitating people, you just haven't done enough work. You haven't done enough paintings. You just have to keep going, because eventually your own style, your own voice will just naturally emerge. All right. What adjustments do you make from photographs? Oh, that is like a class in and of itself. In fact, if you guys don't know, I have a Patreon account. And in one of my Patreon videos, I spend a whole class talking about reference material. My Patreon classes are only $10 a month. Like, I tried to make them seriously as cheap as possible. And I'm actually still kind of in the hole as far as Patreon's concerned. I haven't like recouped my losses from even like creating the videos yet. So, but yeah, I would recommend that too, because it could actually take longer than we have. But I'll just tell you this, cameras are not accurate. And if you're only painting exactly what your camera spits out at you, you're most likely painting camera distortion. So yeah. Oh, Melissa, thanks for being one of my patrons on Patreon. Okay, well guys, listen, honestly, I have to go catch a plane to Washington, D.C. I'm going to the Portrait Society of America tonight, which I'm so excited about. It's like a national painting conference where all these artists from all over the country meet together, and you get to watch them paint live and take classes. So it's, I'm excited, but literally my flight leaves really soon. So I have to bid you adieu. And thank you so much for coming. And I hope this has been a blessing to you. Thank you for coming and interacting with me and sharing with me and giving me this opportunity to learn and being patient in my own learning process with technology. All right. Good night, guys. Stay tuned for Jenedy Paige live painting class.